Beyond Guns and Butter, Rethinking Economic Constraints in the Age of Synthetic Abundance. Section 1. The traditional guns versus butter framework assumes a world of fixed resources and unavoidable trade-offs. In that classic model, societies must choose between military spending, referred to as guns, and civilian goods, referred to as butter, because labor, factories, and raw materials are strictly limited at any given moment. The Baud production possibilities frontier illustrates the hard choice. More tanks mean fewer hospitals or consumer products. This static view dominated economic thinking for generations, and it resurfaced vividly in the post-war era. During the 1960s, President Lyndon Johnson pursued ambitious Great Society programs, including Medicare, Medicaid, education, and poverty reduction, while simultaneously escalating United States involvement in the Vietnam War and maintaining Cold War defense commitments. The result was classic guns and butter strain. Rapid increases in government spending overheated the economy, pushing inflation from around 1.5% annually in the early 1960s to nearly 6% by the end of the decade. The lesson seemed clear. Resources are scarce, and trying to have both leads to fiscal pressure, inflation, or eventual cutbacks. Yet that world is dissolving. Today, we operate in an age of synthetic abundance, where the classical constraints of economics are no longer anchored primarily in allocation, but in execution and scaling. Scarcity has not disappeared. It has migrated upward to the physical substrate layer: energy density, material throughput, thermodynamic efficiency, and planetary absorption capacity. Section 2. The dissolving inputs: capital and labor. Two master levers have changed the game. First, modern financial systems, including fractional reserve banking and central banking, function as a kind of nuclear reactor for capital. They allow exponential expansion of the balance sheet to fund multiple high-priority ventures simultaneously. Capital here acts as a claim on future resources and a powerful coordination amplifier, buying time and mobilizing effort for large-scale projects without immediate one-for-one trade-offs. Second, S.L.A.M, meaning synthetic labor and automated manpower, removes the biological ceiling on labor. Blue-collar muscle now meets white-collar cognition, converging in swarms of robots and artificial intelligence systems that turn factories, logistics chains, and even creative work into software-defined systems. Instead of 100 highly trained human workers, we can deploy thousands of artificial intelligence synths with doctorate-level capability across domains, operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with precision and scalability that human labor could never match. With these two inputs becoming near endless in nominal or replicable terms, the old scarcity of human effort and financial mobilization feels increasingly like a first-world luxury problem. We shift from arguing over rations to debating compression algorithms, paint colors, and optimal techniques. This is exactly the dynamic described in Jevons' paradox. Efficiency gains and input expansion do not reduce overall pressure. They intensify demand for outputs. More efficient artificial intelligence or robotics does not mean less total energy or material use. It often unleashes rebound effects that drive higher aggregate consumption as new applications proliferate. Real-world signs are already visible. Artificial intelligence-driven data centers consumed roughly 415 terawatt-hours of electricity globally in 2024, which is about 1.5% of world supply, with projections exceeding 1,000 terawatt-hours by 2026, equivalent to Japan's entire annual electricity use. Efficiency improvements in hardware and models are rapid, yet total energy and compute demand continue rising sharply because cheaper, more capable intelligence unlocks vastly more use cases across industries. This is Jevons in the artificial intelligence era. The rebound dominates. This content is brought to you by Bobby Giggs. Promote your brand here and reach a wide audience across platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow the links in the description to get started. Section 3. The new constraint stack. The apparent victory over labor and capital scarcity has simply relocated the bottleneck. We now confront the physical substrate directly. Even with abundant synthetic labor and elastic capital, every robot, data center, vehicle, and infrastructure project still draws from finite planetary stocks of energy, metals, water, rare earths, and environmental capacity. Success with S.L.A.M. and expansive capital will likely accelerate Jevons-style rebound. As production scales for high living standards, defense, healthcare, education, and space infrastructure for billions of people, the draw on Earth's resources intensifies. Water stress, clean air limits, energy supply chains, and material cycles become the binding constraints. The modern production possibilities frontier is no longer a simple trade-off curve between guns and butter. It is a dynamic output surface shaped by three core axes: energy density, meaning how much usable power we can generate and deliver per unit of input and land; intelligence, and S.L.A.M, meaning the scale and capability of synthetic labor and cognition; coordination efficiency, meaning how well we orchestrate capital, resources, and systems without friction. The resulting surface determines scalable output. Efficiency mechanics are no longer about using less, in a conservationist sense. They become the primary accelerator for expanding the entire surface, including closed-loop recycling at near-atomic precision, higher energy return on energy invested, dematerialization through better algorithms and design, and institutional reforms that reduce deployment friction. This reframing moves economics from a discipline of choosing between competing needs, in other words, what do we sacrifice, to one of scaling coordinated outputs intelligently within physical limits. In other words, how do we expand without cracking the glass? The real modern tension is not military versus consumer goods, but expansion speed versus system stability. That includes growth versus environmental load, automation deployment versus social and coordination adaptation, and abundance versus equitable distribution. Section 4. Real-world stakes and catalysts. The stakes are immediate. Artificial intelligence and robotics are already reshaping supply chains and defense production. Nations and companies that master rapid S.L.A.M. deployment, combined with high-efficiency energy systems, will gain decisive advantages in productivity, security, and living standards. Those that treat the new bottlenecks as permanent scarcity, responding with rationing, overregulation, or denial, risk stagnation. Catalysts for the next leap are clear: advanced nuclear and eventual fusion for energy density, precision robotics and artificial intelligence for labor multiplication, and improved coordination protocols, whether through better markets, blockchain-inspired systems, or artificial intelligence orchestration layers for system-level efficiency. Longer term, space-based resources such as asteroid mining, lunar industry, and orbital solar represent the ultimate Type 3 substitution, extending the substrate beyond Earth. We have already cracked the atom and entered the quantum and artificial intelligence realms. Scarcity of raw human input is largely yesterday's problem. The exciting, first-world challenge ahead is mastering efficiency at planetary and soon solar system scale so that abundance can compound without colliding hard against physical limits. Section 5. Conclusion. In short, the old guns and butter dilemma has been transcended not by magic or infinite resources, but by technological substitution and financial ingenuity that move the constraint upward. The new economics is about intelligently expanding the output surface while hammering the efficiency button hardest where it matters most: energy, materials, and coordination. Done right, this path leads to a future where we debate optimal techniques for fusion-powered robot swarms and orbital habitats rather than fighting over basic rations. The pie is no longer fixed. The question is how fast and how cleanly we can grow it.